In this video, we're going through a deep dive of Kittl. Everything you need to know, from signing up and getting into your profile to the most advanced editing features. And we're going to go through this nice and slow, walk you through every single bit of it so that you're not confused. And here's just a quick itinerary of what we're going to be going through. We're going to start with your profile, showing you how your home dashboard works. And I hope you get familiar with your settings and some core functionality. Then we're going to be talking about how templates work and how to open and edit templates, as well as how to start new projects. We'll also talk about how to add more designs and templates to one project. Then we're going to get into the entire overview of every feature in Kittl, as well as a deep dive on some of those individual tools. After that, we'll briefly cover collaboration and Teams accounts, and then we're going to end our time talking about some really important shortcuts that you should be using to help you with your design workflow. And every section, by the way, is in a timestamp. So if you take your cursor and you hover over the bar on YouTube down at the bottom of the video, you can see these little chapter titles. And so if you want to learn something specific, for example, text effects or how the pen tool works, you can feel free to just skip ahead or back and forth wherever you want to go. Now, if you don't have Kittl yet and you just found out about us, or maybe you have seen Kittl and you've kind of been on the fence or you're thinking about it, welcome. I am super happy that you found this video. My name is Drew and I'll be walking us through this. And by the way, Kittl is free for you to use. It will be free forever if that's how you want to use it. And you can find a link to sign up down in the description. There's no time limit or anything on it. If you want a free account forever, it is yours to use. And if you ever want to know the differences between the free and the paid plans we offer in Kittl, then I will have that link for you down in the description as well. But let's go ahead and get started with your user dashboard. And we're actually going to start with what you see before you sign up. So here we are on the home page of Kittl, and there's a lot that you can go ahead and do without even being signed up. You can go through and you can check out different features. You can go and, for example, click on merchandise templates, and you can sort through all of our templates, which I'm going to show you when we log in as well. But you can also go up here, and like I mentioned earlier, I will have this page linked for you down below for you to go and access. You can see all the differences. You can see what it would be monthly versus yearly, as well as all the tier accounts. You can even go down here and compare. And this is a very, very helpful chart for you when you're trying to decide if this is a good decision for you or not. But again, it's free, no harm to you. I would go ahead and sign up and definitely check out a lot of the different things that we have in Kittl. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what happens when you log in. So after you log in, you're going to be going through an onboarding. You're going to go through a little survey, talking a little bit about what you want to be doing, because that just helps us best serve you in terms of the templates or the learnings or whatever we want to help you grow in your career or whatever you might be designing. But once you get into your home dashboard, your area, this is what it's gonna look like. So you have your home section, you can see up here, and just FYI, sometimes we do like to move the things in the left panel up and down or around, or we may categorize them a little bit differently, but you'll always be able to find these things. So no harm if you are seeing something a little bit different, or maybe it's worded a little bit different than what you see in the video. Generally, the functionality is going to be the same. So right now, we've got home at the top here. You can see your recent projects. I can jump back into these. You see I work a lot on thumbnails. I work a lot on little funny humor things. I've got some templates that I'm compiling for people to get in and easily use, script fonts and all that kind of stuff. And then I have some things that are suggested for me, as well as tools. So that's a brief overview of the home panel. And sometimes you'll jump back into this and maybe the For You page is a little bit different, or maybe we've updated a new tool. And you can click on these. They're going to open up into the editor, but I'm going to show you all of that in detail, so we don't need to do that right now. Then you have a Recents section, where if I go to Recents, it's just going to show me all of the projects that I have been working on recently here in my profile. Then if I go to Shared Projects, that's going to show me everything that I've been invited to. Now again, that's for a later part of the video. Again, you can find those timestamps. We're going to talk about sharing and collaboration in Teams later on. Speaking of teams, you have what's called your space here, or your individual team, which is just you. It's all for you, but you can also invite people to it. This is where you would be able to go and check out other teams that you have created, again, for a later part of the video. And then we have projects, templates, and tools. And if I click on my projects, I can see all of my projects here. And I'm going to show you some of the capabilities so that you are well aware of how to get the most out of your profile. So already you can see I have created some folders here, and I've created lots and lots and lots of projects. Now, there are some super helpful things that you should know about. First of all is projects. So for example, if I know that this says funny type posters, and let's just say I had already created another, 20 projects, and I've kind of lost it, I can just type in funny, and then that's going to show me the project name that I've been looking for. And I use this a lot because I have hundreds of projects in Kittl at this point, and so a lot of times I will be like, wait, what was that project? And I need to use the search bar to find it. But another thing that I will use a lot is folders. You can see I have a couple of different folders up here. For example, I have another YouTube channel I like to make different content for, and so I've orchestrated all of these specific projects or thumbnails inside of this folder. And so just to show you how that would work, let's say I really like these monoline script for something I want to use in the Clever Ferrets menu or something like that. If I wanted to, I could go down here and I could move it to that folder. So you see these three dots, you can do a lot of different things. You can copy a link to that project. You could duplicate that project if you wanted to make it again. Again, we're going to be talking about making more projects and templates here. Or you can move it to a folder. And if I choose to move it to a folder, then I could just select the one that I've created and then move it to it. Or I could add a new one. Maybe I want to create a brand new folder, which it did right there, and I've already scrolled away from it, but I could go in here and rename it, and maybe this one's going to be, font favorites, which by the way is a feature I'll be showing you later on. But just to show you, for example, I can also just click this check, and you see how it says one project selected. I can go down here, move to folder, or remember, I can uncheck this and I can go here to move to folder, either one. And I'm going to click this, and then I'm going to find font favorites, move to folder, and now that project has been moved into this folder. Really useful, really easy for organizing all of your stuff. If I ever wanted it to go away, I could just remove it from this folder. So I'll go ahead and do that. It's away now. I can go back, and I can even go on here and just delete this folder. And by the way, you can do the same thing with deleting projects. If you find a project or you accidentally create one, or maybe you started opening up templates that you don't want anymore, or you're just not really worried about, you can always go to the three dots and delete that project, just like I showed you how you can go and you can rename or delete a folder. All right, before we go into templates and designing, let me talk a little bit more about overall settings and how you would upgrade your account or do things like that, where you would find your email preferences and all that kind of stuff. So if we start with the most basic of features, if I go over here and hover over this bell icon, that's going to be your notification. So if I click that, you're going to see notifications like if someone invited you to a project, or if designers, creators that you follow have added new templates, which again, I'll show you how to do, whether someone commented on your design, when someone follows you and your kind of work and what you do. It's really helpful, easy access to get to what you need. And then if you hover over your avatar, you can find things like switching over to dark mode, which I know a lot of you will probably like, which by the way, let me know in the comments if you're light or dark mode. I generally like dark mode. Gonna keep it light for this one, but let me know. You can also go into your account settings. You can do things like upload your profile image. You can change your name. You can change your email. You can go over, change your password. You can also go over and check your email preferences, which I would always suggest you're signed up to our newsletter so you don't miss when anything new happens, like a new YouTube video. Now, if you're trying to change overall important settings like billing or upgrading or things like that, you will need to go over into your space settings. So remember, this is where you're going to control if you have multiple teams. And if I click on this and drop this down, you're going to see that I'm in my space where I can certainly invite members if I want to. Right here, you see it says invite members. You can also see which kind of plan I'm on. And if I want to, I would go into the team settings. And what that's going to do is allow me to change the name, which I like calling mine Drew's Space. I can see the members that are in my space, which currently is just me. I don't really need any other members in my space, because what I could also do is simply just invite members to a specific project. So I don't necessarily have to invite anyone to my entire team, which I'll talk about later. And then here in plan and billing, you can see extremely helpful things like how many credits you have, how many extra credits you have for AI, You can go and change your billing information, and you can go and change your plan. So all of that is going to be over here in the left panel where you can go and change your team settings. And you can do this for all of the other teams that you're a member of. You can also create a new team if you want to. All right, so now let's talk about templates. Just like I showed you on the home page when you're not signed in, you have the ability to do that right from within your profile. So you don't have to feel like you need to try to go back to the home page or log out or anything like that. It's already here for you, as well as when you like something, you'll find all of your liked templates here right underneath. So anytime you like something, it's kind of like bookmarking it or saving it. You'll be able to access it immediately. But let's go back to templates and talk about the categories and the filters. So you see here we have the Discover page, which is everything. You also see new things that we upload, like these whiteboard templates, which is really cool. We have design bundles, which are really neat. So for example, you have a lot of different elements inside one bundle. You can use it. And then this is the feature I was talking about, where if I wanted to follow this creator, which I'll go ahead and do, I can click follow, and now I'm following that creator, so that anytime that they upload or publish something, I will get a notification that says such and such uploaded a new design bundle or a new template or a new whatever it is. I will get a notification for that. But across the top here, you can see things like merchandise, marketing, social stationery, all this kind of stuff. And if I click through each one of these, it's going to show me a variety of subcategories and then filters. So just to quickly click through that, we have merchandise, here's marketing, here's social media posts, stationery, branding is probably going to be helpful for a lot of you, business. But let's go back to merchandise for a second, and you can see all of these subcategories, these categories of the product themselves, and they're different for each one of these global categories. So for example, if I just click on bags, now I am being shown designs that are optimized or work best for bags. It doesn't mean that you can't use another design in another category for a bag. You can use whatever design you want for a bag or a hat or a flyer or whatever. It doesn't matter. This just helps you get down to what the creators were thinking when they were designing these templates. And then if I wanted to filter them, I have all of these really cool, helpful filters. So for example, if I want to, let's go to show all, and let's say I want to go to something like travel. If I hit the theme, now I'm seeing only travel themed templates, and then I can even go more granular with the style. So maybe I want to go travel, but maybe I want to go vintage. And so I go travel vintage. So I have, look, I have all these kind of like old, rugged, this one's kind of Western, this one's kind of retro, this one's kind of like hatched, this one's like super kind of lithograph. And then I could get even more granular, and I could go, let's say I only kind of want like dark brown, and now it's going to show me this kind of yellow, dark brown, or any time that there's that color in a template. So for example, you see it on the highlight here, you see it in the background here, and this is a way that you can really get to the specific design that you want using these filters. And if you don't like them, you can just go up here and click the little trash can to get them to go away. And then you can also click on this filters button to also make it go away. You can also sort them by name, recent, most used, or trending. So if you just want to know, hey, what's the most used design out of bags for merchandise, you just go to most used. And now you can see here 1,244 likes, 829 likes, and you can go through and check out some of the most used designs in bags. Again, if I switch to hoodies and sweatshirts, it's already filtered to most used. So you can see here the most used within this. Now they're not going to be filtered by style, they're just going to be filtered by most used. So these are the two different category filters that you can go through and change on any variety of things. For example, branding, maybe we want to go to recent in the branding category, and maybe we want to go to, let's say, brand kits, and now it's going to show me recent brand kit uploads, like brand guidelines, brand identity guidelines, which is really, really neat, and I can go through and filter it the same way, or I can change the filter that way. Now, before I open up a template or start a new project, I do just want to mention that you have your profile and you have instant access to the blog. Let's talk about the profile for a second. So if I click on that, what you're going to do is find all of your specific content that you want people people to see. This means if you were to publish a design, which I will show you, it's going to show up on your profile kind of like a portfolio, and you'll be able to have a description about yourself. You'll see who you're following, how many followers you have. You can put links in there to your website or your social media or anything like that. And you can also go here and edit it. You can see these are the designs that I have published, which are what people are able to go and use. So they can go and use these at any point. You all can go at any point and check out my profile. You can open these up and edit them to your heart's content. And then, like I said, we have the blog here, which is going to be really helpful for you in learning both principles of design, tutorials for design, and many other things that you can go up here. And let's say you're just really interested in vintage. Okay, great. We have tutorials and things like that for just vintage. But let me go back to templates, and we're going to talk about what happens when you click on one and open it up. So let's say we are looking for a branding design, and we want to use, let's go to a label. We're going to be looking at a label. I like this one. Let's go with this coffee liqueur. That looks really cool. Now, I can go ahead and click use this template. I could like this template. I can click on the template to learn more about it. I can see who made it. I can see how many times it's been used, how many likes it has, and I can also use it from here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and click use this template. And now we're about to get into the portion of the tutorial where I'm showing you what's in the editor. So now I've clicked on that template from my profile, and it has been opened in the Kittl editor, which means I can now click on anything in this template, and we're going to say Kittl demo. I would never put that on a coffee label, but I can edit this to my heart's content. I can do things like change the background color to anything I want. Maybe we want it to be kind of like a darker orange or something like that. I can go and I can change the texture. I can mock it up. All these things we're going to go through step by step. So no worries. I'm just giving you an overview of what happens when you click on a template. Now, let me go back to my profile for a second, because let's say you just want to get in and start messing around. You don't really want to add a template just yet. I mean, maybe you clicked on one and you were like, oh, okay, that's what happens. I don't really want to do that. There is no worries. You can absolutely start a brand new project from scratch. So if you go up here to the top right, you can just click new project. So I'm going to hit new project right now. What it's going to do is provide you with a couple of setting options. So you see here, it's going to ask you, well, what kind of artboard size would you like to do? You can come over here and you can input it independently. So for example, if I wanted this to be 2000, then I can have it 2000 by 1200. I can change the pixels to inches or millimeters, and I can also change my DPI. I can change my orientation. I can add margin if I want to, which we'll talk about as well. Or I can pick one of the preset templates. So maybe I want to go to social, or maybe I want to go to marketing, or like many of our users, maybe we're into print on demand. And so for example, I'm going to be making a Printful t-shirt. So I'll go ahead and select this one. It's already adjusted it over here, and now I can just hit create. And so now I've got a blank project. I didn't open up a template, and I'm ready to start editing. I'm ready to start creating. But let's say that you either did open up a template or you opened up a new project by itself and you wanted to continue browsing. Well, you can see over here on the left side, we do have a templates panel, and you can see more labels that were shown from when I clicked this, because I was in the labels category. It opened it up in the project, and then it also opened up the labels panel. So if I wanted to do something similar, like let's say I like this layout, but I also like this whiskey one, well, I can just click on that whiskey label and it added it to the board. And so now I've got both of these in the same board. Just like I did that here, if I go back to the project where I just clicked new project, I didn't click on a template, I can still go over here in the left side panel, and let's say I really like this bag. I can click that one and it will add it to my board. So I can still add templates to my project without having to go back and forth between my profile. This is going to save you so much time. And you can see these categories up here, where if I wanted to go to social, I can still go through and I can go through social. Or if I wanted to go up here and type in a specific keyword like minimal, it's going to show me minimal designs. And that way I don't have to keep going back and forth all the way back here to my profile. I can just go into whatever project I am in, whether or not I clicked on a template like this one where I added it, or I started a brand new project from nothing, and I open up the panel and I start searching and add it to it. But we're going to go through all of this step by step right now. All right, I'm going to go back to this area and delete this template, which, by the way, I can always grab it by selecting the name of the artboard, and I'm going to hit backspace. And what I'm going to do is walk through a couple of core areas here in the editor to get you acclimated and then dive into each of them in more detail. So if you need to take a second, you need to go refill, grab a cup of coffee or tea or whatever you might be drinking, then go ahead and do that and then come back and let's dive in. The first area we're going to talk about is this left side panel where you're going to see things like your menu where you can control settings, your templates panel I already showed you, our text, elements, brand kits, and so forth. So we're going to talk about that first. Then you see down here at the bottom, we see our toolbar where we can select our cursor icon. We can create new artboards, build shapes, use the pen tool, zoom in, zoom out, redo. We're going to go through each of those step by step as well. And then lastly, you see over here on the right side, this is more of your refining section. So you think about the left side as building, you think about the bottom as creating or editing, and then the right side you think as refining, so changing different things. You can see right now all you see are project colors and tools, but the second I click on something like text, you have much more things available to you in terms of settings. You can transform the size of the text, you can align the text, change the color, you can change the actual font of the text, you can transform it, you can add shading. We're going to go through each one of these, so don't worry. I just don't want anyone to worry. We are going to go through these, so don't get overwhelmed just yet. Just let's go through it a little bit at a time. But those are the three core areas. So you got your building area here on the left, you got your designing from scratch area here on the bottom, and then you got your refining or details area panel over here on the right. So let's dive in one at a time. Let's go through the menu. We already have a board here, which is going to serve us really well for showing you what happens. So over here in the menu, I'm going to click on that. I can start a new project. I can go back to my projects. I can duplicate this project, or I can do some other things. What I can do is go and view a grid, which if I select this, it will show me a grid, which I then have control over. And this is really helpful for aligning things. This is good for finding how much space you have in between elements. For example, I know I have about a square here on the left, a square here on the right, which really helps me align these little circles here. And I can take that off, or I can turn on my rulers and my guides. And you can see a quick key command for that is Shift R, and you can see there are rulers here. You can see how much space is being taken up when I have this selected. And then what's really cool about rulers and guides is if I want to start creating much more robust grid systems, I can take my cursor up here and you can see it will change to a different icon. And if I click and drag, I will be able to create guides that will snap to different elements. And I can do this from the left and the right side. So all I'm doing is clicking and dragging from the ruler, and I can start creating a grid. And as you can see, if I zoom in, right now it's not snapped, but if I move it and snap it, it snaps into place against the grid line just like that. You can see that it highlighted that line when I did that, and so now it is snapped against this line, and that's really helpful, and we'll go into more detail about that later. If you ever don't want them, you can just click on them and hit delete. Just like anything else, I can click on it, I can hit delete, and it's no worries. Again, that quick command is Shift and R, and you can see the rulers go away. And if I hit Shift and R to bring them back, another important thing to note is that if I do have a guide, which you can see right here in red, if I hit Shift R, it goes away. So even if I've created a guide and I just think they're kind of distracting, I want to get rid of them, I can just hit Shift R, and then if I need them back, Shift R, bring them back. Or you can go up into the menu settings, like I said, and go back to view and just turn them off. Now, margin is actually turned on right now, but we do have to define it. So right now, the project is set for the margin to exist, but we haven't given it any details yet. So at least we know that it's on. That's a great sign. Let me go over here and click on the artboard. And then if I click on margin over here in the right side panel, you can see this little plus. I'm gonna go ahead and click that, and you can see the margin has populated. It's this very light purple color, and you see that it's defaulted to 54 all around. And I can also unlink these settings if I wanted the top to be a little bit more, if I wanted the left. Let's say the right page of a book, maybe we want the left margin to be a little bit more because we have that space that's going to be going in a book. Now, this is not for a book, but this is just for an example. But if I ever wanted to link these, for example, I can go to, let's say, 25 is pretty standard. This is probably even more than you would need, but you can see it's about right where the border, the margin is there. And this will really help you if you're creating more stationary style stuff. If you ever don't need it, you can simply just go and take it off. If you've ever added margin and you can't see it or find it, make sure you go up into your menu settings, your view settings, and make sure that margin is selected. If it's not selected, it just means it's hidden right now. We'll just keep it checked on for now, because even though we don't need it. And then you'll see here in your settings, just like when I was creating a brand new project, you can click inches, pixels, millimeters. You can go back down here and you can click dark mode to turn dark mode back on in the editor, or you can turn it off. And then here you can always click to save, which I clicked it just now, which is now saved, or you can just hit Command S, which is a pretty standard shortcut for any design tool to save your settings. All right. Let's move on to the other things in the left panel. I already mentioned the templates panel right here, where you can go through and you can select different categories. You can search, you can open them up and save them if you want by liking them. You can add it to the project. You can open it in a brand new project. You can also see what kinds of keywords are flagged and tagged here for this specific kind. So if you want to search more coffee bean templates, it'll search it for you and they will come up for you to easily access. But we already talked about templates quite a bit, so let's go ahead and move on to text. So we have a text building panel here where you're going to find a lot of pre-made layouts. So for example, if I click this one right here, which is a nice monogram style layout, we have a grouped together form of text where if I double click in, I'll be able to see what kind of typeface was used, what all the settings are. I could come in here and I'm just going to put KD for Kittl Demo. I can select one of these other ones, and let's say I want to change this to everything you need to know, which is probably too much text. Yeah, it's a little bit too much text, but you see I could change this to whatever I want to, and we have a bunch of these pre-made layouts in paragraphs, titles, decorations, badges, paper letters. We even have gradient text, which is really, really cool for specific kinds of design. We have title pairs, which is a lot of different font pairings that work well together, and we even have different buttons that we have created that you can go in and easily add or change the text to. You can also add text by just clicking the add headline text right here, or you can add a paragraph by doing the same thing, just clicking it and it will add it. If you want a really quick and easy way to do that, by the way, if you just hit the T button on your keyboard, it instantly adds text for you. We're going to be going through more text editing and shortcuts a little bit later. Let's move on to our elements panel. You can see there are a lot of elements here in this composition, which are really, really neat, including little shapes behind the numbers. We have little panels behind the text here, and of course we have illustrations. Now, if I open up the elements panel, the first thing you're going to notice is we have shapes, ornaments, illustrations. I'll just click through some of these, and what you're going to do is see subcategories or subgroupings of the overall category. So shapes, you're going to have a lot of different things like masks and banners, badges, complex shapes. In ornaments, you're going to have ornate lines, you're going to have Victorian rays, frames, corners. In illustrations, you're going to have everything under the sun, from Y2K to Kwai to anything else. I mean, there's everything in here you can find. And then abstract is going to be some of your more quirky and interesting, very, specific niche elements. But you can always search for anything. So if I were to just search for, let's say, Y2K, butterfly, why not? And, it'll give me some of these like grungy butterflies or characters that have butterflies on them. It'll even give me some like cool recommendations for like chrome butterflies that could work in Y2K aesthetic. And as you keep scrolling, you're going to see even more intense stuff like pixelated stuff that could work really, really well. And just a note on the elements panel, we are always updating and working on how this is viewable and how you're going to easily use it. So don't be alarmed if you see something that looks a little bit different than mine. We are working on making it easily searchable, easily categorical, and for you to be able to save and view your sets of stuff that you like. So don't be alarmed if you see something that looks a little bit different than my panel right here. Functionality, search, adding, the elements that are there, all of that is the same. Just don't want you to be alarmed. Now, if I wanted to see anything more within a specific category, so for example, Y2K Cosmic Abstract, I would just hit Show All, and now I can see everything that's within this one grouping, similar to where if I went to Ornaments and I want to see all the ornate lines, I can simply click Show All, and now I see all of the ornate lines right here. There's going to be everything under the sun for you to explore in Elements, from the shapes and illustrations to masks, and so much more that even I haven't discovered. So I know you're going to have a lot of fun with that, especially for designing or composing different things. We even have features that make it really easy for you to replace stuff within your template. So for example, let's say if I typed in vintage coffee, because I do know that the styling of these illustrations are very similar. Maybe I want to find one of these. These are currently grouped because you can see a larger bounding box around all of the individual boxes. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and ungroup this. So let's say I want this little pod of beans here to be a different illustration. Maybe I actually want it to be a cup. Then I could find one that's pretty similar like this one, and you see this little button that says replace here. I could just hit replace, and it has replaced it to the exact sizing and color that is in this design. So I didn't have to take this apart. I didn't have to delete it. I didn't have to add this illustration, because if I add this right now, it's going to be bigger. The colors are going to be different. I'm going to have to size it down. I'm going to have to put it over here, and then I'm going to have to play with all my colors. Whereas if I found this one and I wanted to change it, let's say to this one, I can hit replace, and it's already the correct size, it's already the correct colors. I can just work a little bit on my placement and put it right there. I actually liked that previous one better. Well, let's go down and see if we see something. Maybe this one's actually pretty cool, so replace it with this one. Yeah, that's super cool. Maybe a little bit hard to see there, but I'm going to leave it like that for the moment. So we have a lot of really cool features that work in tandem with our illustrations on our Elements panel, so be sure to check those out. Now, we're going to move on to the other sections, but if you have any specific questions about Elements or how they work or function or what you're seeing, drop them down in the comments and I will answer you as soon as I can. We're going to talk about brand kits for just a second, and what you're going to be able to do with brand kits is save different styles. So for example, you see text styles here, color style, shadow, and other kind of things. You even have filter styles for photos if you like a specific photo. So if I were to go to my brand kit right here, which has 6 different styles in it. Now, if you can see, I have one that's already created. If I drop this down, I have a couple of different things already created. So for example, I have a headline text, which I have already defined right here. And if I go to edit style, you can see here it's Black River. I could go in here, let's say I wanted to change it to Sign Master. I can click it and hit Publish Changes, and now it's changed it here as well. Now, this I know is a little bit more of an advanced feature, and I have a breakdown for brand kits that you can go and check out on the channel, but I just want to run through a couple of different things. For example, if I wanted to change it to my defined color of this vintage kind of brown, I can click it and you can see it has taken effect. Maybe I want to give it a specific shadow. I can do that and generate the specific shadow on it. I could click and add a new shadow if I wanted to. I could add a new shading style to this headline if I wanted to, and I could also create and add a filter to a photo. Now, I don't have everything necessarily filled out here, but let's say we go ahead and go to a text shading style, and if I click new style, you can see all of these different little shading effects, and you can see it previewed right here. Maybe I want to go with a black shadow, and I want the offset to be bottom right, and I want the blur to be like, just a little bit, not too intense, and I'll just take the offset pretty far away just so you can see it. I can add that style here, and now since I have text selected, I can hit text shading and it will take effect just like that. Maybe I don't want this shading. I can simply go over here and click the minus to remove it. Now again, I know this is a lot to go through just for brand kits, and this is just an overview to show you that we have this feature, but if you want a more in-depth, in-specific tutorial, make sure you check out that on the YouTube channel. And just so you're aware, you're also going to have assets available for your brand kits. So right now, brand kits is limited to styling of your elements or your photos or your colors, but you're going to have another section called brand assets, which I'll preview right here. You can be able to save things like your logos or even save elements that you find in Kittl and develop a whole brand asset kit so that you can rely on them at any given time. Another important area is, of course, your uploads panel. And in your upload panel, you're going to be able to do a lot of different things. You can obviously upload PNG, JPEG, SVG, or WebP files. You can add and create a folder to help organize all of your uploads. You'll be able to find which AI-specific images you generated. So when we get to AI and we talk about generating, you're going to be able to see them in a folder, whether or not you edited them with AI, whether you upscaled them, whether you generated a set, whether you removed the background. All those kinds of things you can do with the folders here. And then, of course, you can just see anything and everything that you've uploaded. And if I ever want to add any of these to a folder, similar to how I showed you with projects, you can simply click on the three dots and you can go move to folder, just like that. And if you want to show all of your folders, you can either click on folders or show all. And then you're going to see everything from clipped images. You can see everything that you mocked up with the mockup tool. You can see everything that you generated with an AI set. We have a really cool AI sets generator, which is really neat, and anything and everything AI or clipped or what have you. Then we have an images panel here, and you can see up on the left and the right, we have it divided by actual photos and then Kittl AI images. Photos is going to be integrated with Unsplash, which are all commercially free for you to use for any project, whether that's free all the way up to paid or a commission or a project that you have licensed for anything. These are copyright free for you to use in any project, and then you can sort and search any way you want. So for example, if you're looking for a portrait, you can type that in and it's going to give you really nice portraits. If I were to go over to Kittl AI, you can see that there are different tags here for images, clip art, and vector. And what the Kittl AI library is, our public library of everyone who's generated an image and opted to upload it to the Kittl library, whether that means publishing it in an actual template. So maybe our template creators were generating things with AI. They uploaded it as a published template. That image that was generated with AI goes into our public library, or you opted to write some prompts and upload them into the public library. I'm going to show you how to do that later. And I can sort these by images, clip art, or vector, or I can also just go and type in a specific keyword like kawaii. It's going to show me everything under the sun for that specific keyword. This is going to be really helpful for adding and finding different things for your artboard, even vector specific. So you can see here, this is actually a vector AI generated image, which is really neat. I can endlessly scale it up or down. I can change the colors. I can also just sort kawaii by filter, by vector filter, and now I know if anything I put in here is going to be vector, which is really, really helpful for if I'm creating a coloring book or something like that. And we also have a textures panel where you can add specific texture to a design. You can also change the background of a design. So if I were to talk about the textures for just a second, I'm going to go over here and use the template that we've already added. And right now there's already a texture on it, but let's just say for the moment that we didn't have one on there. So I just take away the texture completely. And now I've got my artboard selected and I want to find a texture to put on this. And maybe I want to find a grain texture. So let's find maybe this one that we like a lot. I'm going to go ahead and click this. And as you can see over here, it has adapted to this design. And over here on the right, it's set to color burn, but we actually have a lot of different ones that you can preview. So for example, there's multiply, overlay, soft light, hard light, and I would love for you to experiment with these because it's going to give you a little bit of a different kind of style depending on what you create, as well as about how much you are putting on. So let's say we had it to 90% instead of 100. And we can also do things like mask the texture, which if I click mask, you can see now it is only going to be factoring in what's on the artboard. It won't actually mask it to the entire artboard itself. It's just masking it specifically to the illustrations. But if we do want it on the entire label, I'll just unclick mask texture. texture, which is probably what we would want to do for a label, right? Because it's going to be a completely flush item. But maybe you're creating a t-shirt and the t-shirt just has like this text, this illustration, and this text underneath it, and you just want the t-shirt to have the texture on it. Very similar to how this t-shirt actually has a lot of texture on it here. Then you could click mask and it would only affect this area of the design, just like this, and it wouldn't be affecting the background, which means you could print it on a t-shirt without any issues. You can also do things like release the texture. So if I wanted to release it, you can see now it's movable. I can just use it as any old image. I can now change the blending to whatever I want, and I could keep on adding more if I wanted to. I could even replace it with another texture if I wanted to, which is a really, really helpful feature in adding multiple textures to your design. Now, let's say we wanted to add a background. I don't think you would do this probably for a label, but just for the sake of explanation, let's say that we wanted to change this background to some sort of paper. So I'm going to go to the vintage paper, and I've already got this artboard selected, and let's say I like this one. It's kind of wrinkly. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and it has replaced the entire background. Maybe it's a little bit too light. I'm going to go ahead and select this one. Now it's a little bit easier to read, but perhaps we need something a little bit darker. But let's go back and select one of these black backgrounds, and maybe we like this one. I'll go ahead and select that one, and it has some little texture in the background, kind of like a wood grain or a wood texture, and that's pretty cool. We can see we can still add different blending modes if we want, which give us different effects. We can release the image altogether, which then gives us that back to mess around with. It does look like a wood texture, which is pretty cool. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete that for the moment. But that's how textures and backgrounds work. If I don't have anything selected and you were trying to add something, if I click on one, it's basically just going to add it to your most recent artboard. So there's no fear if you try to select one. It's basically just going to adopt or find the most recent artboard and add it to that. All right, let's talk about AI a little bit. So we have the Kittl AI panel here on the left, and if I click that open, you're going to see a couple of different things. First thing at the top, you're going to see your credits, and you're going to see your plan, your monthly credits, and any extra credits, and the ability to buy more credits. If you're ever running low and you feel like you just need a lot more to get whatever you need done, you can always add or buy more. Then you can see image generator, the sets generator, the restyle, and the design generator, which is in beta. In the image generator, which is most likely what a lot of people are going to be using, we actually have a variety of models in Kittl. If I go up here, you're going to see Turbo and you're going to see Advanced. Turbo is going to be great for when you want to generate something very quickly. It's not going to use as much intensity in generating an image. It's going to try to do something really fast, which is really great for these clip art styles as well as all of these other styles that I've got down here for you already. These are already preset styles that are going to help attribute keywords and characters to the end of your prompt to give it a much more specific style. Or you can save your own style. As you see right here, I've got a bunch of different styles saved, and I'll show you how to do that. You can either upload an image or you can actually find and right click to save an image as a preset. And then I mentioned already we have different modes for public and private. Private means it's only going to be yours. You're not under any risk of other people using it. Anything you generate is just private. Or you can set it to public, which means it will go up into the Kittl library. Other people can access it, they can find it, use it, what have you. Now in advanced, we actually have more models for you to choose from. Right here you can see Dolly 3, Flux, and Ideogram, and we're going to be adding more, but I'll let you guess down in the comments which ones you think we're going to be adding next to our AI models. So for example, if you wanted to hit Flux, you can type in your prompt right here. You can change the aspect ratio, decide whether or not you want it for yourself or to upload it to the public. And then you can select a style. I really like the raw setting for Flux because it gives me much more of a realistic thing. Then you would type in your prompt, come down here, and you would hit generate image, and that would do it for you, just like any other AI works. If I were to go back, I can go and also create a set. So for example, if I wanted to create a butterfly, a car, a cabin, a blooming flower, and a playful kitten, or whatever have you in the same style, I can insert all of these prompts one at a time, and then I can go and I can find something like, let's say we wanted to do pixel art, and I'll go ahead and just generate this as an example, and it's it's going to show me all of the images here that will be generated in the same style. So I've already done a video on the character sets, which you can check out on the channel, which will be super helpful for you. But this is a really great way to get things in the same style. As you can see, I uploaded that pixel image, and now it has used that to give me all of these prompts. Colorful butterfly, a vintage car, cozy cabin, mountain, cat, and a blooming flower. I don't know why you would necessarily use those prompts with a pixel image, but that's what I had to show you for this example. Feel free to go through and add other references. Now let's go back and let's talk about image restyle. So restyle would allow you to take an image and change it into something else. I've already done a video for that as well. All of these are going to be down in the descriptions, by the way. That way you can get a much more in-depth and more specific detailed process on how to use it. For example, if I were to add, let's say, this photo over here, I could go down to image restyle. You can see it's currently selected, so it's selected right here. Or you could upload a photo if you want. You can decide how strong you want the strength to be. We could say we want this in a different style, or we could use one of the community styles. So maybe we want to go down here and we want to say we do it in classical. So we've got it. I'm going to go ahead and click high. We have the image that we want, and then we want to see it in a classical version. I'm going to go ahead and generate, and it is going to suggest us an image in the same style, which can be really helpful if you're trying to take something you really like, but you just want it to be in a little bit of a different style. All right, and so what it did was it took it and created a more kind of Art Nouveau or a classical, neoclassical art style, which is really, really cool. It retained the overall composition, but it changed the clothing. Again, I have videos on this that you can go check out on the channel. They're all linked down in the description, but you could have also just generated one by typing it or anything else. So let me go ahead and grab those and get them out of the way, but that's how the image restyle works. All right, the last thing I'm gonna go through on the left side before we start jumping into more editing specific things, I'm gonna go through the layers panel here, and this is great because we already have an artboard here. So you see I have this artboard, and if I select it or if I use the little drop down caret, you can see all of the different things that are on my artboard, and this is going to be really helpful for organization. It's going to be helpful for finding stuff. It's going to be helpful for hiding or showing different things, as well as just naming different things so that you can find it easier. So for example, if I have this steaming cup illustration, I can drop this down to see all of the different paths within it because it is a vector path. Won't talk so much about that yet, but let's say I just wanted to hide it for whatever reason. I can simply hide it with the little eye icon there, or I could show it. Or if I wanted to lock it, that means now I can't actually grab it, but I can use my cursor to grab something else, and I won't be accidentally grabbing this coffee cup because I've locked it. But I'm going to go ahead and unlock that. It's as simple as simply clicking on it if I want to. Or maybe, let's say I wanted the barrel to be in front of this coffee cup. So you see right here, this says illustration. I'm actually going to double click on it. I'm going to change this to say barrel so that way I can find it a lot easier. And let's say I want it to be in front of the coffee cup. So you see here, steaming cup illustration. Here I have the barrel. Well, what I could do is just grab my barrel, and then in my layers panel here, I can just drag it up above the steaming cup. And so now the barrel is above the steaming cup, and there it is, easy for me to see where things are in the layers panel. I can also do that from the board view as well. I can just click on this cup right here, and I can go to the three dots, or I can right click, and then I can just bring it to the front. I can also bring it forward one at a time, or I can just bring it all the way to the front, which then shows the steaming cup at the very top, and the barrel is back down here underneath it. So this is a really, really great way to find different things in your layers panel, because you're going to be able to easily sort through. You're going to be able to double click in and change the names of layer. You can even grab different things together and group them. So for example, let's say we need to take the illustration of the plant here, the illustration of the beans here, and the barrel and the coffee cup. Well, what we could do is we can take, and maybe also this line. So we can take this right here. I'm going to hold the shift key and go all the way up through the steaming cup. And then what I'm going to do is, now that I have these all together, you can see they're all selected. I just did that by holding the shift key. I'm going to go over here to more options, and then I can hit group. And now you can see right here, this is an entire group that if I take away, all of the elements that are surrounding the text, including the illustrations, have now gone away. And so maybe I want to call this main graphics. And then I can still go in and edit any one of them if I want to. I can just drop it down. I can see everything that's contained within that group. So you have a lot of versatility and flexibility with your layers panel. Another reason that we have the layers panel over here on the left is so that you can continue to edit in freeform over here on the right. So you can always see, for example, if I hit Kittl Demo, I know that I have Kittl Demo selected, and I can go over here and maybe I want to be changing some of my colors, or I want to change these to Milk Store or whatever kind of font, and I can still see it all here over on the left side, and I can, quickly find something like, okay, I need to find, let's see, I need to find handcrafted. Okay, great. I got handcrafted right here. Maybe I also want that to be Milk Store or whatever. And so you can easily sort through and find stuff, especially as you add more stuff to the artboard. The layers panel is going to become one of your best friends. All right, how are we doing at this point? I know we've already covered a lot so far, and we've only gone through one panel. So don't give up. We have a lot more to go through, but I know this is going to be super helpful for you. We have the bottom building menu left, as well as the right side panel to go through. A few more other things, and then you're going to be on your way to becoming a Kittl master. So with this bottom menu, I like to call it the building menu or the creating menu. We have our selection tool, we have our artboard tool, we have our rectangle or shape tool, we have our pen tool, we have a commenting feature, we have the ability to undo, the ability to redo, and then we can zoom out or zoom in. And each one of these has a special key command I'm going to teach you right now. So for the cursor, your command is V. It's the letter V. If you're ever in other modes and you need to get back to your cursor, you can always hit the V key, or you can come down here into the panel and you can click on the move key. The artboard tool is A. So right now I have my cursor over here on the board. If I hit A, now you can see my cursor has changed to a plus, and I'm ready to start clicking and dragging a new artboard. If I ever want to get back to the selection key, it will give it to me after I've created an artboard. If I ever want to go back to create new artboards, I can hit the A key. If I don't want that, I'll just go back to the V key. To the right of that, we have the shape tool. And if I click on this little caret right here, you're going to see a rectangle, which is R, an ellipse, which is O, and then you're also going to have polygon and star. Rectangle and ellipse are two of the most common ones to use. Polygon and star are definitely used, just not as often. So we gave you a command for R and for O. So over here, if I'm on the board and I click R, now I'm going to be in the shape builder for the rectangle. So if I drag this out, it's going to show me a rectangle. If I hit O, it's going to give me a circle. Now, if you start clicking and dragging a circle, it's probably going to be wonky, but if I hit the shift key, it's going to create a perfect circle. So if I hold the shift, click, and drag, it's going to give me a perfect circle. If I go back to the R tool, if I click and hold shift and drag, it's going to give me a perfect square. If I do not hold shift, now I can give it any kind of, distortion or length or anything that I want. Really easy, as simple as that. Same thing for the polygon, like this. If I don't hold shift, it's going to give me any kind of perspective. If I hold shift, it's going to give me a perfect triangle, as well as the star tool. So if I were to click and drag, it's going to give me a really weird kind of stretched. But if I hold the shift key, it's going to give me a perfectly proportionate star. So let me go ahead and get these out of the way for just a second. And now let's talk about the pen tool. So I'm going to move this artboard up right here, and I'll show you some more features about the artboards, but let's go to the pen tool for just a second. If I click on P, it goes to the pen tool, or I can simply just click it right here. And then with the pen tool, which many of you might be familiar with, but many of you won't, you can start clicking and making different paths with the pen tool. And maybe you want to make this cool little crown. And if I want to close it, I can zoom in and I can hover over and I can click these little dots right here. And then boom, now I've got this kind of wonky little crown. I can still move all of my points to get it maybe a little bit more, specific, maybe a little bit more nuanced of a crown here. And that's the way you can use the pen tool. I am going to give you a little bit more of a demo in just a second, but let's go ahead and get that out of the way. And then you have a commenting feature. here, where if I were to enter comment, you can see my cursor has changed to a comment where I could go up and I can make a little comment. So for example, if I click on the here, I could say, let's try a different font. And this would be really helpful if I was working with a colleague or a client or wanting to give feedback or something like that. Now you can see I have a little comment right here where someone could go to and they could mark it as read. They could reply to it if I were to invite someone to this artboard, or I can simply just take the comments away and then yeah, you would be back into your normal editing mode. You do have to go into the comment mode, which is C, or you can click on that little icon down here, and that is how you would be able to add more comments. You can either resolve them, you can rename them, you can reply to them. I'm going to go ahead and resolve this comment so that it goes away, and then I'm going to go ahead and click back into my selection tool. But that is how the commenting works. Really helpful for when you're using collaboration and working on a team. And then of course we have our undo, redo, and our zooming in and zooming out. I don't use these much for zooming in and zooming out because what I'll do is I'll just hit the plus or the minus key. You don't have to hit command or shift or anything. You just hit the plus and that will zoom you in. And if I hit the minus will zoom me out. And you can see it's changing there, 50, 100, 200. And another way I like to zoom a lot is by holding the command key and then using my scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out just like this. This is how I usually get specific accuracy with where I want to zoom. I just hold the command or the alt key and I can just zoom in and out like this with my scroll wheel. Now I know not everybody's necessarily going to have that. You can also do that with the trackpad if you have a Mac or a laptop with a trackpad. I can do the 2 fingers in, 2 fingers out, or if you're using an iPad or something, you can pinch in, pinch out, and that will give you zooming in and zooming out. Let's go back to Artboards for just a second before we go into how to use the pen tool and some shape building things. If I wanted to have this artboard here and I wanted to create a second one just like it really quickly, what I can do is hit add new artboard. So if I click this little plus, it's going to add another artboard in the same exact proportions and I can move it around. You can see these little guides, these little bars showing up. That means that it's in line. And if I hold shift, that means that I won't be moving out. I can move it as freely as I want to, but I'm holding shift so it's keeping it organized. And I know a lot of people sometimes have struggles getting them all in order. If I hold shift, it means it's going to keep it right in line. Now, another way that I like to duplicate artboards really easily is I like to hold the alt or the option key. So I'm going to hold the alt or the option key right now. Now I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. So I'm holding it and I'm just clicking and I'm dragging. And what that's done is created a brand new artboard. I'll just do the same thing really quick. I'll hold the alt or the option key, click and drag. And so I can just easily and quickly duplicate my artboards just like that. I can also select my artboard. I can go Command or Control C, Command or Control V, and it generates another artboard right there, ready for me to use or manipulate. I could also do the same thing if I wanted to duplicate an entire design. I could hold the Alt or the Option key, click and drag, and so now I've duplicated the entire template here. And let's say this is really helpful for if I wanted to check out a different color palette. And let's say I like this ocean blue. And this is a really great way, easy way to quickly duplicate your designs, maybe show multiple options and colors to your client or for your business if you're making merch or something like that. You can really quickly and easily duplicate your artboards with Command or Control C and V, or with Option, click and drag. That's one of the easiest and best ways I have found to change my artboards. Now, let's say you do have an artboard and you want to change your sizing. There's multiple ways to do this. You can do it over here in the right side. Right now, this is unlinked or unlocked. So what I'm going to do is lock the proportions, and let's say I want the width to be 1,000 pixels for whatever reason. And if I click out, it's going to adjust the height accordingly. So that's one way you could do it. You can also see your pixel dimensions, your size down here. I can also click from the sides and drag it in or out. I can click from the left or right side and make it longer or wider or what have you. Or I can simply go up here into the artboard size custom template area and I can click standard square. I can click on a t-shirt, and let me zoom out so you see these taking effect. I could click on a Instagram post, or I could go down and click on anything else. I could click on a YouTube thumbnail or what have you, and you can change this to be however you want to, depending on what you want to be designing. Now, another really cool thing about the artboards, which I'll go ahead and delete this, is that we have something called auto resize enabled at all times. That means if I were to maybe duplicate this design, which again is Alt or Option and drag, maybe I need a much smaller version of this, or maybe I need a much bigger version of this. This is really great for viewing it at a digital setting size, because 680 by 1200 is pretty small. But let's say I need to go ahead and size this up. If I grab it from the corner, you can see that it's going to automatically update everything that's on the board. So I now can make it the size that I might need for a coffee packaging label, or maybe a can or something else. So I can drag it easily from the corner, and it is going to automatically resize it to keep everything in place. That was a highly requested feature from people, and I'm so happy to tell you that we have it now. So now you could duplicate your designs. You could have a sticker size, a hat size, a merch size, a label size. You can have all these different kinds of sizes by just simply grabbing the corner and getting them about roughly where they would need to be. And then you can simply go over here into the settings and say, okay, I actually need this to be 2000 width, and then it will adjust it accordingly. And you can have so many different sizes easily whenever you want to. Now, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but let's say you do want to change the color of your artboard. Just like you can change anything, you'll do it over in the right side panel. So now I've got this artboard selected, which I did by selecting the text here. And if I wanted to change the color to be a little bit different like I showed you earlier, I can do that really easily by just opening the little color swatch here. And now it opens up the color panel for me to go in and change it to my heart's content. I can also see my document colors down here, which I can change them to any and everything that I want to. So maybe I want to go ahead and change it to this dark color, and that looks a lot more cohesive to me. And that was what I did by simply grabbing the text here, which is the entire artboard, and then going over here to the color and changing it. All right, I mentioned that we were going to go into some pen tool and shape building, and we're definitely going to be getting there, but since that's a little bit more advanced, the first thing we're going to talk about is element editing and text editing. And we already have a really nice template here to get started with. So let me talk a little bit about the different settings for elements and for text. So remember, I showed you how you can search and find and add different elements from the left side over here onto your template. So for example, you've got this one right here. You know, this could have worked for down here at the bottom or whatever have you. So you started building on the left side, or maybe you opened up a template and you started editing it. But now you really need to get into the nitty gritty, and you need to start editing specific illustrations. So here I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this, which you can do by holding Command or Control G, or you can go up in here and hit group or an ungroup. When you have multiple items selected, you can go to the three dots here, and you can group. I just ungrouped these so it was easier. But let's say you need to edit different illustrations. On the right side panel, you're going to see a lot of different options available to you. You can very specifically create a size for your elements, which is probably most easy for, like, you know, a business card or something that you needed to be really exact. Most of the time you probably don't need to worry so much about the size of an element, but it is there for you to do. What most people will probably be doing is illustration color. So for example, if I wanted to change this illustration color and I'm trying to see if there's a different color besides cream that I like, maybe I want it to be a little bit more on the brighter side like this, I can do that by adjusting the color of the illustration. You see right here it says illustration color. Now I could also browse color palettes to see which one I want to use, but right now I'm really just worried about changing the individual colors. I can change the opacity of this illustration, which I wouldn't do for this label, but if you ever needed to orchestrate different elements in maybe a surrealist style, or maybe you have textures and you want to lower or raise the opacity on them, that's there for you. Maybe I want to add a thicker border to this. And you see right here, we've had the black added here, and I can increase the border like this. And maybe we want to make that the same color. I can go to the border color, and I can select this same color as the background here, and you can see it kind of like faux cuts out of the other illustrations without being super distracting. I'm going to go ahead and take that off. Or maybe I wanted to add a shadow. I can do the same thing by changing the offset. I can change the angle of the offset. I can change the color to something else if I wanted to. I can change the blur, or I can make it sharper. Again, offset. All of these kinds of things are available to you over in the right side settings. I probably wouldn't do that for this label, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Now, you might notice Shape Builder right here, and we're going to be getting to that when I talk more about shape building and the pen tool. So just hold on a little bit and I'll show you exactly how this works. Alignment wise, right now we're probably in the center, or we weren't actually, so now we're in the center, and we can select any of our illustrations and make sure that they're right in the center of our artboard. If we ever wanted to align them left, then I could do that. Maybe I want to align it to the left of the artboard, or maybe I do want to align it back to the center. I can also select multiple objects, so I'm going to hold Shift. Now I have these two options selected together, and I can align them together. I can align them left, I can align them to the top, I can align them to the right, or again, I can align them center and in the middle. Depends on how you want to do it, but most of the time I would probably opt for optical in a illustration pattern like this where we have multiple different things. But it's also really, really helpful for text. For example, I can click both pieces of text here, and I can make sure that they're aligned, or I can align them left, align them right, or again, like I said, align them center. It's really good for helping keep all of your elements in a row. So for example, if I needed all of this, including the text, I can make sure they're all in alignment together. Now, of course, you can edit your color. You can add border, your opacity, all of that kind of stuff. You can also just simply change the size of your elements by grabbing the corner and making it bigger or smaller. Now, remember, we have undo and redo down here. So let's say I accidentally made it way too big. Well, I don't want that, so I'm going to go down here. I'm going to click undo. I'm going to click undo again, and it's back to its original size. You can also do that by holding and clicking Command or Control Z. If I wanted to go back forward, so further ahead in what I just did, so I wanted to go redo back to what I did, I can also hit Command Shift Z, and that will make it go back to bigger. And then if I want it to go back, I can hit Command Z. And you can do that as many times as you edit something. So let's say you tried a couple of different variations, you hate all of them, just Command Z, 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 or you can go down here, go and click redo or undo or whatever you want to do. So another really neat thing that you can do, I'm going to go ahead and switch this illustration color back so that it doesn't look so weird, is you can vector edit specific nodes within a illustration. So for example, if I start with something simple like these little kind of tag looking elements, if I wanted to go in here and edit the way that this looks, I'm going to zoom in here and I'm just going to show you how to access this. I already did a video showing you this. It's linked down in the description for vector editing. But if I double click in, you can see all of these different points right here. And if I click one of these points and drag them, I can create new and different or existing shapes to get a really wonky or a interesting, development together. And that's called vector editing or vector node editing, which allows me to go in and customize anything I want to be exactly how I need it to be. Now this works with so many different illustrations that are vectors. So for example, if I go over here, I'm going to go to illustration. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and let's say we want to edit one of these illustrations. I'm not sure. Let's say we go with this flower. So I'm going to add this flower over here. So this illustration, for example, is actually two different shapes that we can vector edit. So you have the pink, but then you also have the path that is brown, which is the outline. What I'm going to do is double click on the pink. And if I double click on the pink, it's going to show me all of the nodes where I can adjust them here. You can see I'm adjusting the pink here. I have different handles that I can play with. And if I were to go back, I can actually go and double click on the brown, and so you can see all of these different nodes. Maybe I want these all to be like a little bit thicker of a shadow on all of these flowers. I can go and find all of the nodes that I would need, and I can do something like that. And now I have a little bit more depth, a little bit more shadow to my illustration. Now again, I know this is a little bit more advanced. I'm just kind of showing you the capabilities, how to get in and edit this kind of stuff. And we're going to go into way more detail in videos where we break these things down. But just so you know, the vector editing is available to you with any shape that is vector. So for example, this heart is also also going to be vectors. So I can go double click. Now I can see all of the points in here. I can move them all around. Just note that occasionally you are going to get an illustration that is not vector. It's going to be something like clip art. So for example, if I type in watercolor and I want to grab this bee is actually an image, and we're going to talk about image editing later. So I can't double click into vector edit it. The only thing I can do would be double click in and crop it. So I'd be able to crop it, but I can't double click in and vector edit it because it's a clip art. It's it's an image. So just be aware that you're not going to be able to vector edit everything. You will only be able to vector edit what is a vector, a scalable vector graphic. Now, one thing I do want to show you before we move on to text is with illustrations or shapes, we have something called merging shapes together or shape building, and you can do this with really cool and advanced things. So for example, let's go into our elements panel. Let's go into shapes. You can do this with so many different things, but let's say we wanted to go and we wanted to find this organic shape. Maybe we like this kind of like wacky one right here. So this is a little bit of a wacky oval. Remember, I just showed you we can go in and change the paths. If I double click, it shows me the paths here. So I can go and I can change all my little angles and things like that, or I can hit Command Z and go back to where it was. But let's say I also wanted to combine this with another shape. So let's say we also like this one right here, and I could like keep these together. I could group them, and I'm not sure what I might be using this for, but I like that this creates a full shape. Well, I could group them, but what's better is if I go over here on the right side and I just shape build them. I can just union them together. So if I do that, now it's one shape, so I don't have to select both of them together. I've just done this with one shape, and you could keep on doing this. You could duplicate this, turn it. Maybe we want to create, I don't know, this kind of shape. And so now I can hit union again. And so now this is its own a shape right here. Or maybe I want to grab this and I want it to be cut out from the middle of this shape for whatever reason. I'm going to select both of these, and then what I can do is just subtract it. So now I've subtracted it, and maybe I want to put some text or something like that. It really depends, but you can also do this with some other really, really neat things like text. So you can merge and build shapes together by using that shape builder tool over here in the right side. So for example, I'm going to hit T, and then let's say we're going to go with K because this is a Kittl demo. I'm going to scale this up just like this. Let's go find a really cool font like Sign Master or something. And then if I select both of these together, I can go over here to subtract, and now that K is cut out from the inside of the shape, and I can change this to anything I want. So maybe I want this to be like a cool cream color, and anything I change the background to, I have this now customized avatar, and this is really, really cool. There are so many different things you can do with the shape building, from extracting things, subtracting things. There's a really, really in-depth tutorial where I show you this. You can go check that out down in the description, but I just wanted to make sure that you know that you have that available to you over in the right side. You can also do this to create some really, really cool elements. So for example, if I have these two circles, so where this intersects in the middle here, I can actually go ahead and click intersect, and it's going to give me that one little piece that's here in the middle. Or if I wanted to grab both of these and exclude the intersection, I can come out with some really, really neat icons, some illustrations. I can do so many cool things with the shape building tool. And so just make sure that you experiment. It's how you're going to be able to get a lot more customizable things when you're creating your designs. All right, let's move on to text editing, because there's a lot to cover when it comes to text editing. So I have a lot of different things here on the board. You're going to notice that you have arched text. You're going to notice you have circle text. You're going to notice you have straight text, script text, all this kind of stuff. So if I were to click on this main one right here, I already showed you how I edited it. You can simply just click in, grab everything, and then you can type in whatever you want. And then if you click out, it's going to follow the same path that has been added as a transformation over here in the right side. If I ever don't want a transformation on, I can always just click the minus, and it will take it back to a normal straight duplicate text. I'm going to click Command or Control Z to make that go back and follow the path, because I've already got some text down here that is straight. Just like I showed you, you could duplicate artboards or illustrations or anything else. I can hold the Alt or the Option key, click and drag to duplicate text. And just so you can see, I'm going to make this darker over here off to the side. And to demonstrate a couple of things that you see over here on the right side, we have things like color, which we can change, which I already showed you just a second ago. We have different fonts that you can go up and you can type different keywords and different elements to find what you want. So I type in vintage, and now all these different kinds of vintage fonts come up for me to use for whatever I need. You can also upload your own fonts, which is really, really nifty. It's a super easy process. You simply just click upload, choose your fonts through your library, and then you can give them names, you can give them weights, anything that you want. You can do that really easily here. You can also sort through the different kinds of styles, script, variable, sans, serif, all this kind of stuff. It's really, really easy for you to do. So let's go ahead and go back to SignMaster Pro for a second. I'm going to click out of this. We also have our font sizes, our letter spacing, which for the moment, I'm going to back that down to about 50. And then we also have the space, the line height that's within a paragraph. So for example, if I go over here and add the paragraph, we can see that this paragraph currently has a line spacing of 40, but let's say I increased it to 100. You can see that all the line spacing inside now opens up to 100, or if I wanted it to be 0, I can simply type in 0, hit enter, and now there's barely any line spacing in it between. You can also go down. You can use the arrow keys to go up and down. So I'm using my up and down arrow keys. I can also hold shift, and that will increase it in increments of 15. So you could go really, really tight or really far ahead, whatever you want to. You can also do this with your letter spacing. So I can hold shift and go up or down, and it will increase it in increments of 10 so that your letter spacing is higher or lower. Then you have your justification settings. I can justify them left, which means it justifies left over here to the right of the space. I can justify it right. I can justify it completely, which means it will individually spread it out across the entire text box, or I can put it back in the center where it was before. Now we get into transformation, shading, and decoration, where you see some of the things over here are using. If I open up the transformation panel, you can see we have angle, where we can angle our text in any sort of way if we want to. The circle transformation, which you can also take and move all the way around. You can expand it to be bigger or smaller. You can also make it wider or more condensed depending on how you want it. And you can simply move it around as well. If you ever click out of it by any reason, for any reason, you can always go back and adjust the angle by clicking here on Edit Text. If you click Edit Text, now you can still increase or decrease. You can change the rotation, the path. Any of this stuff is super easy by clicking on it and going to Edit Text. I can also do that by clicking on any text that it's already been transformed. So for example, if I click Edit Text, now I can still do the same thing that I just showed you within a template. We also have the Distort feature, which allows you to go in and actually distort it quite a bit. So actually, however you want to distort it, you can do some really, really cool wonky stuff with text, including changing the arms here to get some really, really, really cool text effects depending on what you want to be creating. So you can conform this to things like banners, flags, shapes, elements. You can do all this kind of stuff with the Distort feature. The Custom feature allows you to go in and change the points anywhere you want. Every point is going to have a handle that you can see. It's kind of moving around, and you can drag it in or out depending on where you need to go. The Arch effect will do just that. It will create it in an arch, which you can make higher or lower or left or right. The rise effect will also do what it says. It basically creates a subtle rise where the bottom of the text is creating this wave effect. We also have a proper wave effect where it will basically arch a little bit up and to the right. You can also adjust it to create any kind of effect that you want. And the flag effect will go ahead and put it into a preset where it is creating this kind of wavy flag effect. And you can use all of these little angles in these nodes to get it a little bit more refined or a little bit close together. It just depends on what is going to work for your use case. You can also go over here into the slider, and it will make it more or less intense depending on how it's going to fit your template. You can also always reset it to its optimal settings at the beginning, which you can see here is 80. You can confirm or you can take it off by hitting the minus key. Then we have what's called text shading. So we can add text shading to this, and we have a couple of different options for you down here in the right side. So that you can see it, I'm going to make this red so that it's extremely obvious. So right now the offset is pretty low, but I'm going to increase the offset quite a bit so that you can see it taking place over here. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that you can see exactly what's happening. So the offset, as you move it, will go further away or closer to the text. The angle will determine where on the text path it goes, so up, down, left, right, or around. And then the blur will, of course, increase the intensity of the blur or make it sharper if you take it all the way down. But we also have some really cool effects like line shadow. So for example, now you can see that there is a shadow on this text, and I'm going to go ahead and type in SHAD, so shadow, so that way we can make this a little bit bigger for you. And you can see that there is a shadow effect, a line shadow effect on the text already. This is a highly sought after effect that takes you quite a bit of time to do in other tools, but we've gone ahead and added it as a preset because we know that a lot of people use it. We can also use our offset to make it farther away or closer depending on what you want, and we can also change the angle around just like I showed you for the other one. And what's really nice about this is depending on what I change the background to, so I'm going to go ahead and create this rectangle, right click and send it to the back. And if I make this light, you can see that it's already cut out from this text. So no matter what I make it, the shadow that I've given it, which is red, and the text will remain the same, but anything that I change the background color to is perfectly cut out, which is really difficult to do in other programs, but we've already basically coded this to work exactly the way that it's supposed to work just for you. So let me go to the next one, which is block shadow, which kind of does the same thing, but it fills in that gap. We can still use our settings to make it really long, which gives you some really cool effects. We can use our angle still to determine where we want the shadow to go. And then we actually have an extra category called outline width. And if I were to start increasing the outline width, you can see it creates an extra border around it, which is going to be extremely helpful for things like stickers or designs where you need to cut text into a design. Even if I take the offset all the way down, I can still add this outline width to fill in all the way just for, maybe a Kiss Cut sticker or a decal or anything I want. And of course, I can always go and I can change my outline color to anything I want. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take the text shading off for the moment and talk about text decoration. So we have a couple of different options here. I'm going to go back and choose that nice light pink. And we have one that's called horizontal lines, where we can change the weight and the distance of these lines to be more or less intense. We have what's called color cut, which will take and divide the text into two pieces. We can also choose how far or how much we want to show using this distance slider. We also have oblique lines, which is the same as the horizontal one, but we've just angled them to the side. You can still increase or decrease your weight and your distance. Then we also have fading color cut, which kind of combines the two and gives you a more or less weight as well as the distance to go up and down depending on how you want to do it. And at any point, you can still always go and change your colors, and you can always change the base color of your text to something that you want to get some really cool effects. Now you might be asking at this point, can we use decoration and shading and transformation all at the same time? And the answer is yes. So if we want to go ahead back to text shading, I could put this on, and maybe I want to do the line shadow, and I want the offset to be pretty far, and I want it to be to the bottom right. I'm going to go ahead and grab that darker green. And so now we have this nice faux shadow here on the side. And so now we've got text decoration, now we've got text shading, and now we're going to do text transformation. And so maybe I want to click this one and I want to put it on an angle. And so you can see here, you can of course add all three of these, and you're going to find a lot of templates where this is also commonly the case. And just in a matter of seconds, with a few text effects, I have a really beautiful piece of text that I can use for a variety of different reasons. And as you can see over here in the right side, you can create beautiful templates just like this one. Now, another really neat feature that we recently introduced was being able to save fonts. So let's say you found a template like this one and you click on it and you really like this adventurer font right here. Well, what you can do is you can go to the adventurer font, you can hover over it, and then right here on the right side you see this little bookmark flag. And if I click that, now it's been added to my bookmarks panel, which is up here in the top part of it. And if I click on the caret, it will expand it and it will show me all of the different fonts. So if I need to get back to one that I like a lot, like Accelerator, or maybe like Fake Serif, or whatever it is, or put it back to Adventurer, I can do that with my bookmarked settings. So this is a really easy way to make sure that you find and always have access to the fonts that you love, because we're expanding our font library all the time. There are so many different fonts to go through, especially if you start uploading your own. So you're going to want to make use of this bookmarked feature where you can go in and bookmark your fonts easily. Another couple of cool things about the type settings and finding fonts is the ability to type in a style or a mood. So for example, surrealism is a really trending graphic design style right now. We have a lot of tutorials for this. And if I were to type in the word surreal, we have some really cool fonts that have to do with that category. So for example, you see this one has a lot of different characters in it. I'm going to go ahead and click this and drag it off to the side so that you can see it. I'm going to make this a little bit easier. I'm going to zoom in on this. You see there's all these little different characters for the font, and I just got there simply by typing in surreal. We also have another really cool style called modular. And if I type in modular, you can see all of these different conformed fonts that have been made from the same pattern, the same shape over and over again. So I encourage you to go and find different keywords. I have a list of them that I can share with you to show you all of the different things that you can search in our fonts panel that will show you a variety of different fonts. But I'd love for you to get creative and see what kind of fonts come up when you type in a certain keyword or a holiday or a style. The last feature I'm going to show you for text is also a recent one that has to do with vector editing, and it's one that I love and use all of the time. So I'm going to go back to our little piece of text right here, and I'm going to take some of these things off because we're not going to need them for what I'm about to show you. So let's say that we have this awesome piece of text right here, and it's really nice, but I kind of want to do some interesting things with it. Let's say I wanted to punch it out from this block. Well, I showed you how you could do that before. I could select both of these things. I could go over to the shape builder and I could subtract it. So now that text is subtracted from this block, but I can't really edit it anymore, right? Let's say I wanted this D to be longer, or if I wanted the W to be wider. Well, we have a feature now called outline text, which is going to convert it to outlines. So up here in the more options panel, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to outline text. If I click outline text, now what you're going to see is that each of these individual pieces is now a shape. It's no longer editable. You don't see any text settings over here. You don't see any way to access the font panel, anything like that. So I would recommend you always duplicate your text before you do this, because now everything is a shape. So I am able to double click in here and you can see all of these nodes. Right? So now I could make this W a lot thicker, or maybe I wanted to make this one a lot taller, or like I was saying, maybe I want to grab all of these pieces, which you can do, by the way, by holding the Shift key, and we want these to kind of go off of the page here with that W, and so now we've done that. Maybe we could do the same thing with the S. And so the way that you do that, like I said, you go to the more options and you outline text. Right now, all of these are individual pieces that have been grouped together. You can also easily make these together by hitting the union one, and so now they're all together and you can double click in easily and see all of the points at the same time. Whereas before I was only seeing the W points, now I can see all of the points at the same time, and I can do some really neat things. Another reason that this is extremely helpful is because maybe you want to grab certain elements. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and type in let's say a crow, and we want to grab this one right here, and let's say I wanted it to go in the middle of this O. Right now, what I'm going to do is take all of these points away. I'm going to grab these points and delete them, which you can do individually really easy. So I'm just going to grab these. I'm going to go ahead and hold the Shift key, grab all of these points, all of these white dots. I'm going to hit backspace, and now I basically just have a circle shape. But now what I can do is go in here and I can grab this, put this crow here in the middle, and then I can hold Shift, select the text and the crow, and then I'm going to subtract this crow, and so now it's been taken out of the middle of that shape. Now I would probably want to work a little bit more to get a illustration that would work for the letter O, but I could have done that in the, a letter R or an A or a D or something like that. But this is how you can get really cool and intricate designs by outlining your text. I can still double click in and change any of these. So maybe I wanted to do something very similar with the A, and I want to get rid of all of the points in the middle of the A, and maybe I want to find a different crow like this guy and put him right here in the middle like this, and I can grab both of them, subtract it. So now a little crow out of the A, and I got a little crow out of the O, or what have you. It depends on what you're kind of creating. I can still go in and add things like border. I can add things like shadow. I can still do things to it. You just can't edit it anymore. So it's a very powerful feature, but you need to make sure that maybe if you are going to change your text around at any point, you're duplicating your text before you go in and you start outlining it like I just showed you. All right, let's talk about image editing. We do have some image editing capabilities here in Kittl that I want to talk to you about. So over in the images panel, I'm going to bring back one of these portraits. So let's bring this one back right over here, make this a little bit bigger, and let's talk about a couple of image editing capabilities. The first and easiest one to talk about is our photo filters panel down here at the bottom right. And if I hit add photo filter, what I can do is start adjusting my photo. So I can make it brighter, I can make it darker, I can increase or decrease the contrast, saturation, or the vibrance, or the hue, and I can also make it blurry or make it sharper. I can add noise to this, I can even pixelate it if I want. So you can do kind of your standard normal photo filters, and if I ever don't like anything, I can simply just remove it and it goes back to its original state. Another thing I can do is add shadow. So I could add shadow to this, and similar to how I was showing you with the text effects, I can still change the angle, the blur, I can change the color to anything I want to, or if I don't want it at all, I can take it away. I also can add border to my photo, where if I need to do something specific, I can go and I can change, let's say I wanted to color drop the hat here to make it the same orange as the beanie there, and now I have this really cool border around my image. And yes, you can add shadow, and yes, you can add photo filters at the same time. Maybe I want to make the saturation a little bit more, and you can get a lot of really cool editability with our photos. We are adding more features every month. So right now, yes, photo editing is a little bit more basic, but you can still get done what you need to get done. Another thing you can do, I'm going to go ahead and take these off. Another thing you can do is crop your image. So I can double click in, or I can go up into the more dots right here, the more options, and I can go to crop, which is right here. I can flip my photo, by the way. I can bring it forward. I can do all of the different things that I was mentioning, but I can also just enter the crop setting. And what I can do is go over here and just change any of these angles, these points on the side. I can also make it smaller, larger. I can bring it in, extend it out. And then if I click exit cropping mode, or if I click done, it's now cropped that image. I can always hit Command Z to bring the entire photo back from where I cropped it up above. Now, let's say I wanted to remove the background from this image. I can simply do that over here with the Remove Background tool. So just go ahead and click that. It's going to take a second to identify the subject, and boom, just like that, I have a perfect cutout of my image. Now, I can still do things like add border, which is still going to add a border to the bounding box, so be careful there. We can add shadow, and we can still adjust photo filters on the specific image itself. We also have a new feature called Reframe, which is right here on the right side panel. And let's say I wanted to extend this photo here to the left because I want to add some text. You also see you have different aspect ratios for your photo. I just went ahead and dragged it over here, and you can see all of these transparent blocks are what are going to be filled in. I'm going to go ahead and hit Reframe, and using AI, it is going to determine what it should autofill or auto-generate, content-aware fill this photo. Sometimes this will take a minute, just depending on how complex your image is and how long you want to fill it in with. Sometimes you do have to give it just a little bit of time to give you something accurate. All right, and just like that, it went ahead and filled this in. So now I could do something like run a little sales event right here. And maybe I grab this text, and I again grab the orange of the beanie there, and maybe I would want to fill this text in specifically like with some white or something like that. And so now I have like a summer sales event that I can put here and to the left, and maybe I would want to like yeah, make this a little bit more easy to see or something like that. But you could see how this would be really, really helpful with your images using the reframe tool, because you're going to be able to create a lot more different things. I use this all the time for mockups, for example. I might find a mockup that I love, but it's a square, and I'd rather it be horizontal or I'd rather it be portrait. Well, I can use reframe and I can just extend it to be exactly where I want it to be. Now, we also have the vectorizer tool, which is really helpful for when you are generating AI, and you can also go to the images panel, go to Kittl AI, and we can vectorize certain things. So if I were to go to all, and let's say that I really, really liked, let's say I really like, maybe I go over to the AI images here, and let's say that we really like this apple, okay? Right now, you can tell that it was a clip art generated images because it still has a background. So let me go ahead and remove the background from this, and let's say I really like all of the colors in here, but I want to change them. Right now, I can't change them because this is just a flat, PNG image. Well, if I go to vectorize, I can add colors to this so that it will vectorize it and I can change it. So I'm going to count my colors really quick. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's go ahead and select 6 colors. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I'm going to go ahead and vectorize, and what that's going to do is give me all of these colors, but now they're editable. So maybe I want this shade of red to be a little bit lighter or a little bit darker. Let's go ahead and see all, and I want this one to be a little bit more pink, and maybe I want the green to be a little bit more vibrant, and I don't want the black to be so sharp. I want it to be kind of off black. And now I have a much more customized illustration, all because I vectorized it. I can still add a border to this if I want to. I can still add shadow to this if I want to. I can still combine this with other elements if I wanted to using the shape builder tool. So we have a lot of image editing tools at your disposal for you to play around with. Let's say that you were to generate something specific like this one. You could even upscale it using the upscale tool right here, which will upscale it to 4069 pixels on the largest size. I have a video for that as well, showing you before and after examples of what I generated with AI and then how I used the upscaler in Kittl to make it a lot sharper. All right, we've talked quite a bit about editing capability, and there is always more to cover, but I just want to give you a second here. If you need to pause the video, get a refill on your drink, or if you need to go down into the comments, go ahead and ask some questions, or open up and follow along. Whatever you need to do, I want to give you the time to do that before we go into the rest of it. And just to tell you what we have going on for the rest, we have some mockups, we have some core editing features left to do, we have collaboration and teams to talk about, and then we're going to end our time talking about some shortcuts and things like that I think are going to help build your workflow out. All right, now we're going to talk about mockups. So we have a lot of mockups already in Kittl so that you don't have to go somewhere else or download your design and upload it to another platform, or you have to keep going and downloading from a subscription or something. We have generated a ton of mockups, and the way that you would get there, you can see over here on the right side, it says tools, it says mockups. I don't have anything selected right now, so if I were to go ahead and click mockup, what it'll do is it'll ask me, hey, which artboard do you want to use? And right now I'm going to use this one that says Chasing Freedom. So I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to hit Create Mockup. And what that will do is it will open up our mockup editor, our mockup generator. And now I'm able to move this design around on this t-shirt to see what it would look like. And then I can go over here and basically find any kind of mockup that I would want. So maybe I want to do a Bella Canvas shirt and this really amazing shot of, out in this alleyway right here. Or maybe I want to use one of these in the cloud mockups with the sweater here, and I want to see what it looks like there. Or maybe I want to go down and find something, a little bit more streetwear-like, and see what it would look like on the back of a t-shirt here, and make this just a little bit bigger and kind of like going down off the bottom. Or maybe I would want to see it on, I don't know, maybe a sweater. Let's see. Maybe I want to see it, maybe a little bit more like a jersey kind of thing on the back of like a jersey mock-up here, and I can move this and position it here on the back. And what's really, really cool about this, let me make this just a little bit smaller, is in the mock-ups, I can change the mock-up color, meaning the background color, to anything I want. So if I want it to be lighter, or if I want it to be more orange, or if I want it to be a completely different color, I have the ability to go and change the hex code. I can change the RGB number. I can even go and I can find color drop picker of, you know, something in the illustration there, and I can easily get it like that. You can also browse mockups. So for example, if I was looking for a brand like Comfort Colors, I have Comfort Colors right here. I can select that, and then it'll take a second and it'll load in all of the models that are Comfort Colors here. So for example, I can click on this one, and then I know that this t-shirt is accurately showing what a long sleeve Comfort Color t-shirt would look like. And so now I know that if I download this and maybe I'm going to put it on my shop or my store where I'm selling Comfort Colors, then I will be confident, hey, this is actually a Comfort Colors shirt showing on this model. I can also search other things. So for example, if I wanted to search laptop, I could search laptop, and we have some really, really cool laptops for that. Maybe I want to type in poster, and I find a really, really cool poster that fits this aesthetic, maybe something more like, maybe something more rugged that fits this. I can expand this, and this looks really, really cool as a poster mockup in this, you know, abandoned warehouse or something like that. Now you can export mockups and upload mockups. I'm going to show you both. So if I go here to download mockup, I'll go ahead and just click that, and there's nothing else I have to do. It's downloaded it as a large JPEG to my downloads folder, and now I can access it, but I can also upload it back to Kittl. And maybe I want to do this because I'm creating a brand board or a mood board, or I just want to keep everything in my project the same in the same space. So I can just click Save to Uploads, which I'm going to do right now, and it'll take a second. Yep, say image save to uploads. And if I go back to the editor, what I'm going to do is go over into my Uploads panel, and then I'm going to be able to see in my mockups folder. So over here in the folders category, I see mockups. If I click on mockups, then I can see it, boom, right here. I can add it to my artboard, and then I can keep on going. Maybe I want to use this for a social post. I want to put some text underneath it, like come to the Freedom Show or whatever. I can start doing that, and it's all here in my uploads panel because I uploaded it straight from the mockups features. That's really cool. I don't have to drag it in or upload it from anywhere else. I just did it right from the mockups panel. Now, like I mentioned, we're always uploading more to the mockups capability in the mockups panel. So comment down below with a style or a scene or a specific item or something that you want to see in the mockups panel. If you comment, we will definitely see it and catalog it, and enough people talk about it, it raises the priority so that we can add it. We actually went over to our corporate office in Berlin, and a lot of our coworkers signed up to be in some of our product shots. So you can see some of them right here. We had some amazing people come forward, real Kittl employees that were wearing real garments, everything from Comfort Colors. We actually did a video on this, so you can go back and check. But that's our dedication to the quality of the mockup. So let us know what you want to see down in the comments, and then we'll do our best to make that happen. Another thing I want to mention is that at some point, we will make the mockup editor a lot more robust. Right now, it's quite limited in the position. You can't necessarily rotate it or put something on the front or the back or the sleeve. It's limited to one design, but we will be making it more robust. We will also be making it a little bit easier for you to use live time. So at some point, the mockup editor might come into the actual editor itself, and while you'll still be able to see and peruse and browse the mockups, just note that what I just showed you here in the video may look a bit different farther down the road, so don't be alarmed if what I just showed you looks a little bit different. Just go and check for the most recent mockup tutorial video on the Kittl channel. All right, I want to talk about some more core editing features because I jumped around a little bit. I did my best to kind of show all the way down the left panel, all the way on the bottom, all the way on the right panel, but I want to dive in and talk a little bit more of some core editing features. One of the easiest and most valuable, I think, is our color palettes feature. So I can grab this artboard, very similar like I showed you before, and if I go down here to browse color palettes, I can either use a brand kit color palette that I made over in the brand kits over here, or I can go down and select a palette that I see that might work really well. And so I could do this and keep duplicating. Like for example, I really like this one. I could keep duplicating my project over and over again. I'll make it just a little bit smaller. Then I'm going to duplicate it down here below, go back to Browse Color Palettes, and then I could use an ocean blue one, or I could use this cold forest, or I could go down to ocean sun, and I can get a lot of different variants of my design by using the Color Palettes tool. Now, we also have an eraser tool, which you can do a couple of different things with. Now, to access it, you can hit the eraser here from the contextual menu, or you can hit E. If I hit E, I am in the eraser tool. And now there's a couple things that you want to know. Right now, I don't have anything specific on the settings turned on, so if I just start clicking and dragging, it's just erasing it so that it's just gone. It's completely transparent, and this can be helpful if you're trying to delete little pieces from something you generated with AI. Maybe it was vector and there were some little specks or some sparkles or something, and you can just delete it and get it away. But for an image like this, I think a context that's even better to show you would be what we call the erase and fill. So over here in the top right, if I select this turned on, erase and fill, now what's going to happen is when I take my cursor, click and drag across an area, what this is going to do is very similar to reframe. It's going to auto-aware fill and fill in the background clean, just like that. And so now I can just basically do this as many times over. And what it's going to do is clean up this mock-up, for example, and make it exactly the same color as the background so that I can go in and put whatever I want on top of it. And this is a really cool way that you can fill in whatever you need. And you can also exit it. You can make the eraser bigger or smaller. You can exit. You can take it off. Anything you want. You can, again, go back to the E for eraser, or remember, if you click V, it goes back to the selection tool like that pretty quickly. Just a few other things about the contextual panel right here. You can duplicate the object right here, which makes a duplicate. You can crop it by going into the crop mode really easily. You can delete it immediately, but again, you can hit Command Z or go down here into the undo panel and click undo, or you can quick export. And this is a really helpful feature where if you click on the quick export panel, you're going to see your format options that you can choose from, and then your sizing options where you can go and you can select 1, 2, or 3 times the pixel size. 3 will obviously give you a very large image, and you can instantly export it. But what's really neat about the export panel is that that doesn't just apply to photos. It actually applies to anything. So here in this template, this Chasing Freedom one, if I just select this text, I can actually just export this text. I don't have to select everything, and I can even export it as an SVG and export it just like that, and then I can continue working on it in a completely different platform if I want to. Now, another really cool thing is maybe I want to export these two things together. I can just select them and group them together if I want, and I can just export them as well. I can export it as a PNG, a JPEG, or an SVG, and this is a really helpful time-saving feature where if maybe you were doing this as a merch sale or a poster sale and you wanted to animate these little specs in a little video, you could easily go in and grab them and export them really quickly to do something in a video editing tool or whatever. And it saves you so much time than having to go over into your layers panel and start turning different stuff off and then downloading it one at a time. This quick export feature is so nifty. Now, another thing that you'll want to explore is how many different things we have in the More Options panel. We have copy and we have paste. We have a copy link to this specific selection. We have copy and paste style, which I'll show you in just a second. You can launch the Copilot, which right now we will cover in a separate video. You can actually go ahead and go watch it already. It's already out about the Copilot. You can quick export right from the right-click settings. I can outline this text because I've selected text. Obviously, if I selected an image, there'd be no outline text there. I can enter the erase mode. I can lock it from here, meaning I wouldn't be able to move it. I can flip it the other direction. I can flip it vertical, so I can flip it upside down if I want to, and I could do this with an image or an illustration or anything else. I can bring it to the front. Bringing it forward and bringing it all the way to the front are a little bit different. I brought it forward just now, but it didn't do anything because it's already far enough behind this person. But if I hit bring to front, you see how it goes in front of that person in the template. I can send it to the back, or I can send it backward, and you see there are bracket keys or shift brackets. These are your bracket keys that are just under and to the left of your backspace keyboard button, and these are a couple of different actions that you can take in the more options. Now, if I were to select this illustration and click this, you see that outline text is gone, but the replace feature has now come into fruition. So, and I can also save it as an image style, and that's what I was showing you earlier, where if I click save as image style in the image generator, you can see here it's generating itself as a style, where if I wanted to use it as a reference photo for AI, now it's there for me to always use. I can type in my prompt, select silhouette, and it's going to give me something similar. We have a ton of videos on how to use Kittl AI in the different models, so you can check those videos out on the channel as well. Now, to show you how the replace feature is going to function, if I click replace, what it'll essentially do is open up the elements panel, and then I could do something like type cowboy. So then I can replace it with an illustration. Maybe I want to go a little bit different. Maybe I don't want to do necessarily a vector illustration. Maybe I want to do something like one of these watercolor things, like this pair of boots or something, and then I can hit replace, and then what it will do is replace it with these boots. Now obviously I would have to go in, and these boots were a little bit bigger than that illustration, and I have to change it a little bit. Actually, it looks kind of cool, but I'm not sure if I would use that for this specific thing. But you can see what happens when I hit the replace button. I'm going to go ahead and hit undo to go back to my illustration. And then of course you can do things like flip it, or you can go back to bring it to the front or bring it to the back. Now, what's really neat that I use a lot is the copy style feature. So let's say that we had a variety of these photos, and let's say I was working with this photo right here, and I gave it a border, and it's about right there, and I gave it a shadow, and the shadow was like a very similar green that's in here, and I had it, I had it somewhere where I wanted it, okay? So I had something like this, and, I was like, man, I really want all of these photos to have the same thing. Well, what I could do is I can go up here into more options, and I can go over, and I could just copy the entire style. I could copy the shadow if I want, but I'm just going to copy the entire style. Now what I can do is select each one of these. I'm going to hold shift and select each one of these, and then I can go in here to more options, and I can go to paste style, and then now you can see the border and the shadow has been applied. Now you might notice that the border on this one is thinner and the border on this one is thicker. It's because this image is bigger and this image is smaller. So I should have probably made these all the same size, but I could easily go in and simply just put this to what I want. Let's say it's 30. And then I can go in and I can change any of these to 30. A lot of times I use this mostly with the shadow. I think the shadow and the coloring is usually the best thing that I use it for, but it is there for you to check out. It's a really cool feature that I use all the time. Copy and paste layer style. Again, if you right click or hit the more options panel, you can go to copy and copy paste, paste style, copy shadow, and you can do that amongst anything. So for example, if this one had a shadow, I could go over to copy, copy style, come down to this one, more options, paste, paste style. Now that one's got it. It's also turned it to the green. It's also turned to the shadow. Now, I do want to just briefly go over some tips for the pen tool. Now, I have a full demo on the channel about the pen tool and the ins and outs, but let's say I just found a cool image of this word called listen, but you could upload a sketch. You could go and check out any other photo, or maybe you drew something, or what have you. It doesn't have to be lettering. It could be an illustration or anything. But with the pen tool, you have a lot of flexibility and availability to this. The first thing I would probably do actually is grab this and turn it down so that I can easily start editing over top of it. I want to show you just a couple ways that you can get curves. One way that I might tackle something with the pen tool is just adding all my points. So I wouldn't worry about curving anything. I would just go click here, and I would go all the way around this letter like this, just basically really basic points all the way up into the point where I would lock it. And to lock it or close it, you have to hover over the ending point that you want to be, and you can see this little black dot there. If I click that little black dot, now it is connected. I'm going to hit V to go back to my selection tool. Now, this doesn't look very good, and it's very, very kind of rough, but a quick way to do this is by going around and double clicking on each point, which will turn it into a curve. And so now what I can do is I can double click on all of these points so that they're not so sharp. Double click on this one. Actually, I might leave that one the same. Double click on this one, or I might, let's see, I may leave that one the same. Double click on this one. Double click on this one, double click on this one, probably leave this one the same, double click on this one, same here, and maybe I'll add one here, and if I want to add a point I can double click, and now I can have much more flexibility. And as you see, when I click any of these nodes, these handles pop up, and so now I have a lot more flexibility with the exact curvature that I want on my letters. So for example, if I want this to be a little bit more curved like that, then I can come up and I can work on this top part right here. Maybe just bring this in, maybe expand this one in a little bit, and before you know it, you have got a custom letter that you outlined with the pen tool. And so I could grab this, I can go and give it a color, and so now we've got a fully custom L that you drew with the pen tool. Now that was me going around and roughly adding all of the nodes and then double clicking to do them, but you don't have to do it that way. If I click the pen tool again, I can add curves really easily by clicking and dragging. So let's say this is a point right here, and this is a point right here, and there's a curve here. Well, I can click right here and I can drag this point. And then what I can do is, you see how it continues to curve around, but if I want it to just go back to being straight, I can just come back here and hit the black dot, and then now it's going to be straight. So maybe I want to come right here, and then maybe there's a little bit of a curve here, so I can click here and drag. And so now I've got a little bit of a curve here, and then I'm going to click back on this dot, click about right here, click and drag. So anytime you click and drag, you're going to have this curve motif. Now I'm going to go right here, click and drag, come right here, click, click, and then maybe I'll come right here, click and drag right here. And then as you see, I'm creating a little bit of a different effect here. But maybe we want to do like this, and then we'll come back and just for the sake of it, we'll click and drag right here. So these are two different ways. I'm going to go ahead and add the color here. These are two different ways that you can go about drawing something, whether it's letters or whether it's an illustration. I would probably have more points right here that I could use to be a little bit more flexible. And yeah, I would probably add more points to this, which I go over a little bit in the pen tool demo. So definitely go and check that out. Obviously this is not optimized, but I wanted to show you a couple of tips on how you can use the pen tool. And if you want more advice or help, let me know down in the comments so that I can help you with that, because it does take a little bit of getting used to with the pen tool, because there's a lot of different tools at your disposal, because you can combine them with things like the shape builder tool I showed you earlier. You can combine it with text, where you draw something around text. You could draw something around an illustration. And so for those of you who are trying to get a little bit more advanced with your design or with your vector editing, you have these tools at your disposal that you can use to create more unique things where you don't necessarily want to rely on a stock element or a template or things like that. So if you want to grow fast with that, make sure you check out some of those other demos as well as some of the more advanced tutorials we have coming up. All right, we're coming to the end. We're getting close, but there's still more exciting things to talk about. One of them being collaboration and teams. Now, I mentioned how to set up a team in your profile already. You can always create a new team, or you can simply invite people into your space, into your team. That will allow them to see your projects. They'll be able to click in. You guys will be able to be on the same canvas at the same time. We already have videos showcasing that already. But let's say I've been working on this one right here, and I want to share this project with people so they can get in here and edit it or whatever. If I go up into the share panel right here, you're going to see immediately that you have the ability to type in email addresses. You also have the ability to just immediately copy the link so that anybody can view the project. Now, right now you see anyone with link is currently switched to no access. If I were to switch this to can view, now I can simply just click this link, and I could even give it to you all, and you could immediately open this and view it. You wouldn't be able to edit it, but you would be able to view it. Now, I can also type in an email address. We could say someone@gmail.com, and I can give them actually the ability to edit. And then if I invited them to this project, they would be able to get in here, edit it, change it, duplicate it, comment on it, any kind of thing like that. And then you'd be able to see right here another person. So you would see, someone, whatever their avatar, you would be able to see that they're in the space. And we'll show you what that looks like, obviously, right here. Now, that's the way that you can easily collaborate on a project without having to rely on another tool, without having to ever leave or export your design and put it in another design. You can design and collaborate all in the same place. You can even set up a full team so that they can always get in to your projects at the same time. Now, while we're in the share panel here, I want to show you how to access your download settings. So you can obviously share, like I just showed you. You can download the project. So if I click download, it's a much more robust version of the quick export feature. So you see right here, I have all the artboards selected, but let's say I just want artboard 1. I can simply just take this one off, and now I only have artboard 1. I can select what file format, PNG, JPEG, SVG, or PDF. I can change the size right here, or I can change the DPI right here from in the export settings. I could remove the background, which will remove this entire tan area and just give me the transparent image, which is exactly what I would need for something like print on demand or merch design, where I just need the design. I don't need the color of the background with it. And then if I was going to do something like a brochure or a big, flyer or a banner, I would hit optimize quality, which is going to give the browser a little bit more time to smooth out pixels, which helps when printing. Now, I do want to point out that if I were to go to PDF and select multiple artboards, so for example, if I wanted both of these artboards together, I could also hit combine the artboards into one file, and that will combine them into one easy file for you to access and or share with a client or a colleague or maybe a print shop or anything else. And then I can simply just hit download and it'll go right to your downloads folder. Now, a couple other things that you can do is if you were to publish this project, I'm going to go to publish. And then what's going to happen here is you have the ability to send a copy of your project. You can email or share the project on your social medias, as you see down here, or you can go to publish your project. And what publishing means is that it goes live on your profile, which I showed you earlier, where I showed you my profile with all of my published templates, meaning you can go and access them at any time. You can open them, you can edit them, you can duplicate them, change them. But if you were to work on a project and publish it, make sure you know that now everyone has access to find it and utilize it. So if there's something you're working on private or for a client or something like that, please don't publish it because not everyone needs access to that. Publishing a template is only for if you want the Kittl community to also access it. It's also a really great idea for growing followers and things like that. But otherwise, you can keep your projects to yourself. You don't necessarily have to publish them if you don't want to. Now, another really neat thing I want to show you is going to be really helpful for when you're presenting your work, or maybe you need to get feedback on work. Let's say I were to go up here to the presentation icon and I can hit view presentation. So right now, if I hit view presentation, this is going to do its best to formulate all of the artboards into a presentation. Now down here on the bottom, you can see slides, and right now it has the coffee one, it has the two freedom ones, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the coffee one from the entire board. Okay, and why this is so helpful is because you can share this project. Again, you can invite someone to collaborate, or you can simply just share the link. Anyone with the link can view, and then you can copy this. And let's say that you wanted to get people's opinion. Maybe it's a client for this merch design and you want to get their opinion. Well, now you don't have to export a PDF. You can just send them the link to this live presentation where they can simply go back and forth and look at the two options. And then not only that, they could also take the comment tool and they could go over and they could comment and say, this is really cool. Maybe a cowboy sitting on a, I don't know, what do cowboys sit on? Like a, I don't know, a hay barrel or something like that. And maybe so anyway, the client or whoever could comment, and now you can see it, and then they could go and they could reply. And then you can have a full conversation without ever having to go to your email, right? Because you shared it straight from your Kittl project. And then anytime you're ready, you just go back to the editor, and then now you can continue editing. You can see the comment right there, which is really, really, really helpful. You can see the comments from your colleagues or your clients or whatever, and you can go in and adjust it. You can respond and say, great, I'll get on it. You can refresh it, and then you can ask your client or colleague to refresh. And if you were to change it, then it'll update in your presentation. And they would say, you're good to go. That's more money, more time for you saved and ready to go. And then after you've seen a comment and resolved it, by the way, you can always hit resolve and it'll go away just like that. Now, if you need more information on how teams and collaborations work specifically, please check out the links down in the description. It's really easy to get set up, but perhaps it sounds a little bit confusing, and maybe you're also wondering how much money it might be to add more teams or add more seats to your team. I've got information for you to check out down in the description. Please do go, and if you have any questions, you can always go down into the comments and let me know, or you can join our Discord and you can pop in some questions there and someone will help you. All right, the last thing that we're going to talk about is some shortcuts. I know a lot of you that might be coming over from another design tool are wondering what kind of shortcuts do you have available. And I already went through a couple. For example, if you hover over any kind of tool, you'll see the shortcuts. So you have V, A, R, P, C for all of these different kind of basic things. But you also have some really, really helpful shortcuts for improving and increasing your workflow. So for example, Shift R will show you your rulers and it will allow you to make guides all over the place depending on what you want to do. If you ever want to get rid of the guides, you can hit Shift R and they'll disappear. And then you can keep hitting it, Shift R, to bring them back. Another one I use a lot is if I ever accidentally get away from my artboard, because my artboard is, my canvas is endless, and now I've accidentally forgotten where I'm supposed to be, I can always hit Shift 2, and it will take me back to my original artboard that I was working on. And if I hit Shift 1, it will take me to a view of all of my boards. So for example, let's say I was trying to do something, and then oops, I accidentally went all the way, I scrolled, I have no idea what's happening. I can hit Shift 1, and it takes me to an overview of my projects. If I ever want to move around the board freely and you don't have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can hold the space bar and you see this little hand comes up. I can click and drag, and now I can move around my space bar. And now I can move around my canvas just like this by clicking and dragging and moving around just like that. I mentioned earlier a helpful command I use a lot is holding the command button and scrolling in or scrolling out with my scroll wheel, which allows me to zoom. And then I can move around by holding the space bar, and I can get exactly where I want to get by using some of those commands together just like that. I mentioned always Command Z is one of the helpful, Command or Control Z, where occasionally you may accidentally do something like shift something way out of the way, and you just need to hit Command Z to go back to where you were. You can also go down and hit the undo button if you ever need. Now sometimes you'll be editing quite a bit of text, or you'll have a word that's quite a bit of letters, and if I wanted to edit all of this at the same time, another helpful command I use is Command or Control A, and what that will do is it will basically select every single letter, and then I can just type in a new word like fighter. I don't know why I would do that for this specific one, but you can do that. And if I were to hit Command A, right now it selects everything on the artboard, and I can move it all around at the same time. So for example, if I just wanted to move it over here to the left, I hit Command A, and now everything on the artboard is selected. I mentioned earlier that hitting T adds text really, really quickly so that you can keep adding your little elements or your text effects as quickly as you want to. And if you ever want to outline text quickly without having to go up into the right click menu and outline text, what you can do is you can hit Command Shift and O, and that will outline your text where you can double click in and see all of the points just like that. Now there are so many other shortcuts that you need to know about, and what's really helpful is that you can go down here into this bottom help section in the left panel, click on that, and then you're going to see shortcuts. If you click on shortcuts, a full panel menu of all the different shortcuts will come up for you. You see all the ones for Shift, Command A, Command C, the brackets, Shift apostrophe for showing or hiding guides. You can always find this by going down to the question mark and then clicking shortcuts, and that will open up your keyboard's shortcut panel. A couple of other things that are super helpful in that menu are things like the feature request. And if I were to open up the feature request panel, that will bring you to our Canny feature request board, where you can go and you can find a bunch of different things that people are asking for, and you can upvote them. So for example, ability to rotate a design on a mockup, or font coloring, or borders on masks. You can simply click to upvote them, or you can go in and add one of your own. So for example, if I were to go in and type in something like masking, what that's going to do is actually sort the suggested posts so that I can go and upvote one if I want to. So I don't necessarily have to add a second one, but I could upvote another one. So this is a really helpful tool for you to go and check the feature requests as well as provide feedback for us about what you want to see in Kittl. And if you ever want to see the roadmap of what's currently being worked on, you can see things that are planned, things that are in progress, and things that we already have available to you in Kittl. So that'll be linked for you down below, but you can also always access it by going to the question mark and going to feature requests. If you ever need help, we have a help center for you to get quick and detailed explanations of a certain feature or an element. Or if you want to chat with our support, you can simply hit the chat and it will open up a panel where we will get you situated with one of our customer support reps to help you get you what you need. All right, before you go, I want to give you 3 helpful places to go to learn more so that you can become a Kittl master faster. The first of which is here on the YouTube. I have over 800 something videos that go into extensive detail on certain elements or features or tools or design styles that will help you achieve what you're looking for. And if you don't see something, you can always go into a video and check out the timestamps. And if that doesn't help, you can always comment on a video and we'll add it to the queue to help you get what you need. The second place is our blog. We have a blog where you can go and find detailed explanations for those of you who are more of a reader and you want to read a little bit, stop, go and experiment with something, and then come back and keep reading the blog. We have that sectioned out for you. And we're also building a brand new learning tutorial section on Kittl so that you can go step by step for certain actions depending on a use case you might be using for, I don't know, branding or merch design or anything else. The third place I mentioned earlier would be the Discord. We have so many members in the Discord, so many creators and designers doing thousands of different things, including our world-class template creators. We have so many of our amazing template creators in there who are willing and able to help you with whatever you need. You need feedback, you have a question. We have a ton of amazing reps and power users in our Discord channel that are just waiting to help you become a better designer. And one last thing I would ask before you go is if you found value in this and you enjoy Kittl, I hope that you would share Kittl with a friend, a family member, a colleague, or someone that would find this helpful, because that's probably the best thing you can do for Kittl is by sharing it, because that allows more people to get in, access it, find different things that could be improved. That gives us way more feedback and in turn helps build a better product. So I would encourage you, if you're finding value in Kittl and especially in these videos and trainings, definitely share them with other people that could benefit from this. Now again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to comment down below because I read every single comment. Sometimes it does take me a while to get to them and answer it because there are so many, but trust me, I am looking at them every single morning. I check out the comments, and so if there's something specific, I always add it to a queue. I want to get in there and make sure that you have exactly what you need. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for going through this whole demo with me. I appreciate you, and we will see you in the next video.